Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the spoilers first. And subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on The Young and the Restless. Sharon's scare, Jack's mistake, Victor's offer, and Sally's decision. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the next 3 weeks, from April 20th to May 8th, say that there will be some exciting things happening on the CBS soap. There will be drama for several people in Genoa City, so here's what YNR fans can look forward to. Billy Abbott and Sally Spectre will try to make sense of the shocking news that Sally is pregnant during the week of April 20th to 24th. Lily Winters is Holden Novak's half-sister, which will shock Devin Winters and Nate Hastings. Holden will also keep going to Claire Newman for comfort. After Dr. Stephanie Simmons and Claire meet, the doctor might say something about how Claire seems like a great match for her son. In another scene, Diane Jenkins Abbott will see Jack Abbott with Nikki Newman at a time she thinks is inappropriate and get angry. Victoria Newman will also look for a way to get an edge over Phyllis Summers. Victor Newman will eventually give Phyllis a proposal that she can't say no to. Kane Ashby will want to help out once he finds out that Malcolm is sick and needs a bone marrow donor. Malcolm won't be able to match the twins, but Kane won't stop looking for someone who can help Lily's biological father. Will Kane be a good match for Malcolm, or will he at least help Lily find someone who can? Matt Clark will make things even worse in Las Vegas by putting Sharon Newman and Noah Newman in danger. Nick Newman will keep taking drugs and will end up behind the wheel as he tries to find Matt, Noah, and Sharon. Adam Newman will keep worrying about Nick and will end up putting Reza Thompson through a tough time. Perhaps Reza will help Nick and Adam find the right place, which will be an old petrol station. During the week of April 27th to May 1st, Matt will put Sharon and Noah in a scary corner. Noah and Sharon will have to deal with Matt's surprise attack, which could put them in danger of getting caught in an explosion that seems to be brewing. Nick will do everything he can to help, but it will be hard because he keeps taking a lot of drugs. Jack will have to do even more damage control because of the Nikki situation we talked about earlier. Diane will be mad no matter what, so Jack might make things worse in his marriage. Next, Lily's heart may soften toward Kane because he is trying to find Malcolm the life-saving bone marrow donor match he needs. Patty Williams will keep plotting this week from May 4th to 8th, because she still wants Jack to be her man. Patty might promise to get rid of anyone who gets in her way, even Diane and Nikki. There may be some changes in the business world after Victor's deal with Phyllis, but will the Newmans be able to take back control of the family business? Holden and Claire will also get closer, so they might end up in bed again soon. Now that she's back with Sally, will she decide to go through with the pregnancy and have Billy's baby? Billy and Sally will have a lot on the line as they make their plans for the future. There are some new problems coming up on The Young and the Restless, so stay tuned. Victor peeked and saw Michael sell Jack a strange document for money. In Genoa City, secrets didn't stay hidden for long. They changed hands, slipped through back doors, disappeared into briefcases and came back at the worst times, usually in the middle of a scandal that no one saw coming. Victor Newman was in the exact wrong place at the exact right time that afternoon. He didn't mean to be a spy. If someone asked Victor directly, he wouldn't say it that way. He thought he had just seen something strange, followed his gut and stopped long enough to make sure his gut was right all along. It didn't matter much to Victor, but anyone who knew him would know the truth right away. Victor Newman did not look around. He looked into it. And what he saw was enough to start a chain of events that could affect many families in Genoa City. It happened in the middle of town, close to one of those quiet side streets where people would meet for coffee and talk about business. Victor was on his way to a private meeting when he saw Michael Baldwin across the street. That by itself wasn't strange. Michael was always busy with something and he always had that calm lawyer's demeanor that made him look harmless until he wasn't. It was strange who Michael was meeting. Jack Abbott. Victor slowed down without even thinking about it. Seeing Jack standing by a parked car with his hands in his coat pockets and his posture alert but relaxed right away made Victor pay more attention. Jack wasn't by himself either. He kept looking toward the entrance of the building as if to make sure no one was watching. Of course that made Victor pay more attention. The traffic in the afternoon buzzed around them. A person on foot walked by. A truck that makes deliveries went by. Michael then took a thin envelope out of his jacket. Victor's face got tense. Jack took a folded stack of money out of his pocket and gave it to him. Victor squinted. He stepped back behind the corner of the building just in time to avoid being seen, But not before he saw the whole thing very clearly. Jack got the envelope from Michael. Michael got the money from Jack. It was quick, practiced, and shady enough to make even the most kind-hearted person raise an eyebrow. Of course, Victor was much more than generous. He stayed hidden, watching from the dark edge of the wall. With each passing second, his face grew harder. Victor couldn't hear what Michael said. Jack nodded quickly in response. After that, the two men went their separate ways, each moving with the awkward control of people who had already promised not to be seen together. Victor stood there for a moment longer than he needed to, his mind already racing. What was inside the envelope? Why did Jack give Michael money? And why would Michael, of all people, sell Jack Abbott anything? Victor thought that the answer was much more important than the act itself. Because he knew from experience that a strange document was never just a document. It was a way to get what you wanted. It was proof. It was going to be blackmail. It looked like paper, but it was a gun. And someone had just bought it with cash. Victor waited until Jack was out of sight before coming out of hiding. He didn't follow right away. He called instead. When one of his people answered, he said, "Find out everything you can about Jack Abbott's movements in the last 48 hours. And I want to know what Michael Baldwin has been carrying around." There was no need to say anything else. In Victor's world, that kind of order meant trouble. He hung up the phone and stared in the direction Jack had gone, his jaw set. Michael Baldwin had just walked into the middle of something that was going on. When Victor got back to Newman, he was in a bad mood that had gone from suspicious to dangerous. He thought that things didn't happen by chance. He thought there were patterns, reasons, and pressure points. If Michael was trading documents for money, then someone was using someone else, and Victor wanted to find out who. He didn't know yet that the paper had more than one use. Michael had not sold Jack just any piece of paper. He had sold a copy of a file that was meant to stay hidden. The original was taken from a locked cabinet at a law office that was involved in a corporate dispute that ended a long time ago. It was once part of a secret settlement deal that ended one of Genoa City's most heated business fights. The paperwork had old witness statements, financial notes, and a set of observations that, if made public, could bring back a story that everyone had worked hard to forget. The problem was that the file had just come back. Jack really wanted it, so he was willing to pay for it. Michael had lived in Genoa City long enough to know that dangerous information didn't last forever. He had made a choice. He didn't do it without thinking. He didn't do it out of greed. He did it because he thought the document would help him keep something else safe. Depending on which version of the story you believed, that person could have been a client, a family member, or his own reputation. But Victor didn't know any of that yet. He only knew that Michael had taken money from Jack. And that alone was enough to start a fire. Michael was not the first person Victor talked to. Nikki was the one. He found her in the Newman suite, looking over a stack of papers with the kind of focus that usually meant she already knew something was wrong before anyone said anything. When he walked in, she looked up and saw the look on his face right away. "That bad?" she asked. Victor closed the door behind him. "Worse." Nikki put the papers down. "What happened?" Victor slowly walked across the room. "I just saw Michael Baldwin give Jack Abbott money in exchange for a document." Nikki blinked once, then again. "You saw what?" Victor stopped close to the desk. "You heard me." She looked unhappy. "Are you sure?" "I can see." Nikki looked at him for a moment before sitting back down. "That doesn't always mean what you think it does." Victor looked at her with a flat look. "From what I've seen, if Jack pays Michael cash for a document in a side street, it means exactly what I think it means." Nikki rubbed her head. "Or it means that one of them is trying to keep something from getting into the wrong hands." Victor's eyes got smaller. "Whose hands?" Victor became even more suspicious when Nikki didn't answer right away. He bent over. "You know something?" For a moment she looked at him and then sighed. "I might know a little." "Then say something." Nikki thought for a moment before speaking. There was talk that an old file had come back to life. Something that has to do with a deal from years ago. No official word. Nothing is public. Just whispers. Victor's face grew hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" Nikki said, "Because it wasn't clear if the file was real, useful, or dangerous. And because some people in this town think that keeping a rumor quiet makes it less dangerous." Victor slowly let out a breath through his nose. "That doesn't make me feel better." Nikki said, "No, it's not." Victor started to walk around. If Jack bought it, he must have thought it was worth something. Michael must have wanted cash or leverage if he sold it. No matter what, this isn't about gossip. Nikki nodded. No, it isn't. Victor came to a stop. Who is it about? Nikki's silence answered too much once more. Victor's voice got lower. Nikki. She gave him a careful, worried look. I don't know everything yet. Victor looked at her. Then, with a kind of patience that was really just a controlled version of anger, he said, Then I will find it. Michael knew Victor had seen something before Victor got to him. That was the thing that made Michael Baldwin who he was. He knew how hot or cold a room was the way some people know how the weather is. Michael didn't pretend that Victor's visit was a social one when he walked into his office without an appointment, a call, or even a hint that he was angry. Victor, Michael said in a calm voice. This feels bad. Victor shut the door. It should. Michael sat back in his chair with his hands folded. Then I guess this is about the little conversation you saw. Victor didn't care about being subtle. What did you sell to Jack Abbott? Michael gave a quick, unreadable look. Nothing that has to do with you. Victor laughed quietly without any humor. Try again. Michael's jaw got a little tighter. I'm not going to talk about something private just because you saw a few seconds of it. Victor's eyes went cold. You took money from my enemy in the middle of a busy street. I took money for a legal document. A paper that was worth hiding. Michael kept looking at him. That's how you see it. Victor got closer. Then tell me what I did wrong. Michael didn't say anything. Victor's voice got sharper. If this has anything to do with my family, my business, or something you think Jack can use against me, I won't like being kept in the dark. Michael let out a long breath. You should probably ask Jack what he plans to do with it. Victor looked at him. So you agree that it matters? Michael's face changed a little bit. I admit it was important enough for Jack to want it. Victor kept that for a while. And important enough for you to sell. Michael's eyes got smaller. I didn't give anyone up, Victor. What did you do next? Michael got up slowly from his chair. I made a choice. Victor's face got darker. Those are often the same thing. Michael didn't move. Not always. Victor looked at him. He could still feel the anger, but he could also feel something else. Doubt. Worry. The slight tension in a man who had acted under pressure and didn't completely trust the outcome. That only made Victor more interested. Victor said, You are hiding behind legal language. That makes me think this paper is either very dangerous or very embarrassing. Michael's answer was well thought out. It's not easy. Victor's lips got tighter. Things are hard in this town when people aren't honest. Michael's eyes lit up. That might be true. But not all secrets are yours. Victor took a step back, straightened his jacket, and looked at Michael with a hard, judging look. We'll see. Jack was already dealing with the consequences of his own decision. He didn't think Victor would see the deal. He thought there would be privacy, secrecy, and a clean break. Instead, he now had an angry Newman on his tail, a suspicious Michael in the middle, and a mystery document that was getting harder to deal with by the minute. When Victor's name showed up on Jack's phone, he didn't even try to sound surprised. What do you want? Jack asked. Victor's voice was smooth, which made everything worse. How much did you give Baldwin? Jack held the phone tighter. That depends on who is keeping track. Victor's laugh was quick and cold. You should know better than to mess with me, Jack. I'm not playing games. No. Victor said. Then tell me why you and Michael were doing something secret in the street. Jack's voice got sharper. Maybe because some things are better kept to yourself. That's interesting. That sounds like an admission. Jack looked at the office door and then spoke more quietly. You are making assumptions. And you are not answering the question. Jack didn't answer right away. Victor saw. He did. Victor said, You bought a paper. A document that is hard to understand. And I want to know why. Jack's silence lasted just long enough to mean something. Then he said, Because it has to do with someone who doesn't deserve to be blindsided. Victor's eyes got smaller. That's not an answer. It's the only one you can get right now. Victor's voice got lower. If this has anything to do with Newman interests, I'll tear down every lie you've built around it. Jack let out a sigh. You always think your battlefield is the center of the world. It usually does. Jack almost laughed, but it wasn't funny. This one doesn't. The queue went silent. For a moment Victor stood there holding the phone and not saying anything. Then he slowly let it down. He hadn't learned anything useful, which only proved that he was going around something real. And in Genoa City, real secrets always blew up. The document's contents had started to leak out through the town's quieter channels by the end of the day. Not in public. Not yet. But not enough to make people feel uneasy. What did Michael sell to Jack? A file related to an old settlement that had a missing financial trail and a witness who had changed their story since then. A name had been crossed out in the original, but the copy Jack now had made it seem like the name might be linked to someone who is still working in Genoa City's business world. That meant the document could be used to hurt someone's reputation, reopen a legal case, or force a powerful family to be quiet. That was what people said. But the truth was even worse. Jack didn't buy the document just to get an advantage. He bought it because he thought someone else was going to turn it into a weapon first. He thought he could get ahead of a dangerous reveal, find out where it came from, and keep the wrong people from being caught off guard. Some people thought that was brave while others thought it was stupid. Michael didn't sell the document just because he wanted to make money. A different problem had pushed him into a corner. Someone had found out he had a copy, and if he didn't act first, the information could be stolen, made public, or used to frame him as the leak. Jack's money gave him some space. It also gave him a chance to decide when and how the story came out. That is to say, both men thought they were in charge of a disaster. Victor thought they were making one. And this time Victor wasn't wrong about the danger. He was only wrong about what it looked like. When Victor finally found out where the file came from, the real explosion happened. It went back to a case that had been closed for a long time and involved a business move that had quietly changed ownership rights years before. The document hinted at a secret link between a past settlement and a current business weakness. It wasn't enough to kill anyone, but it was enough to make people ask questions that no one wanted to answer in public. Worse, it involved people with very different goals. Someone wanted to keep the file from being seen. Someone else wanted it in their hands before it got to the wrong person. As usual, Jack had jumped into the middle of the chaos, sure that he could handle it better than anyone else. That night Victor met him at the club. The lighting was soft, and the mood was such that people could forget how many deals and betrayals had happened in the same room. Victor got there after Jack had already sat down. Jack said, "I knew you would come." Victor sat down without taking off his coat. "You should be more worried that I did." Jack put down his drink and leaned back. "You want to know the truth?" Victor looked at him with a flat stare. "No. I came here to get the weather report." Jack didn't pay attention to the sarcasm. "The document is about an old deal that someone is trying to bring back to life. It could cause legal and financial problems for more than one family if it gets into the wrong hands." Victor's voice was calm, but it had a bite. "Why didn't you bring it to me?" One time Jack laughed. "You thought I was going to walk into your office and give you something that could blow up half the city? You got it from Michael." "Yes," Jack said. Because he was already halfway out the door and someone else was getting ready to take everything from him. Victor's eyes got smaller. "Who?" Jack's face changed and Victor knew right away that he had hit the right nerve. "You know," Victor said in a low voice. Jack didn't say anything. Victor leaned forward a little bit. "I need to know everything if this document is being used as leverage." Jack looked him in the eye. "Then you should ask the people who created the problem in the first place." Victor went still. "Meaning?" Jack took a breath. "Meaning this file exists because of a decision made years ago. One that a lot of people thought was buried. But it wasn't buried. Just hidden." Victor's jaw worked once. "And now?" "Now," Jack said, "people are scared." Victor looked at him for a long moment. "Are you protecting someone?" Jack did not answer, which was answer enough. Victor rose. "That is what I thought." Jack stood too. "Victor." But Victor was already done listening. "If someone in Genoa City has started moving this document around, then I will find out who. And when I do, I will not care how long ago they thought they buried it." Jack watched him with a complicated expression. "That's the problem with secrets. They never stay dead." Victor turned back just once, his face like granite. "No. They become useful." By the time the story fully spread, the city was alive with speculation. Who was Michael protecting? Why had Jack paid cash instead of going through a lawyer? Was the document related to Newman? Abbott? Something older? Something worse? The answers were not simple, and that was what made the situation so dangerous. Everyone could sense a larger game in motion, but no one knew exactly who was playing it. Victor suspected sabotage. Jack suspected blackmail. Nikki suspected a family scandal. Michael suspected that whichever side moved too early would lose control of the narrative. And all of them in their own ways were right. Because in Genoa City, the truth rarely arrives as one clean revelation. It arrives in fragments. In overheard conversations. In cash exchanges on a sidewalk. In documents no one was meant to see. It arrives when someone thinks they are buying information but accidentally buys a war. Victor naturally did not intend to let this stand. He called his own people, demanded a full sweep, and ordered every connection to the document mapped. He wanted names, dates, digital trails, and backup copies. He wanted to know which walls had been breached and which loyalties had been compromised. Jack, for his part, took the document and began reading it line by line, understanding that the real problem was not what it said on the surface, but what it hinted at beneath it. Michael, now stuck in the center of a storm he could no longer fully control, tried to keep one step ahead of the fallout. And somewhere in the middle of all this, someone else was watching. Someone who understood that Victor seeing the exchange had changed the game. Because once Victor Newman got involved, every secret became a battlefield. And this one had just begun. By the following morning, the tension in Genoa City was so thick it felt almost visible. Victor knew something had been set in motion. Jack knew he was being watched. Michael knew his margin for error had disappeared. And all three men understood that the mysterious document was no longer just a piece of paper. It was evidence. It was leverage. It was danger. And in the wrong hands, it could tear open old wounds that had never truly healed. Victor stared out over Newman Enterprises from his office window and let the anger settle into something colder and sharper. He had seen enough to know the truth was out there. Now he intended to drag it into the light. Because if Jack Abbott thought he could make a private deal with Michael Baldwin, and if Michael thought he could sell information without consequences, then they had both made the same mistake. They had forgotten who they were dealing with. Victor Newman had peeked, seen the transaction, and now the game was on. In Genoa City, that usually meant one thing. Someone was about to lose far more than money. It meant reputations were about to crack, alliances were about to shift. And the document itself might be the least dangerous thing in the whole story. Because the real threat was not the paper.